Happy New Year. Welcome back to Tres Leches Radio 2021 edition. Again, happy belated New Year. As always, it's your favorite scalp Radimus over here. Gentlemen, let them know who the rest of the trio is.
Hey, B-Stacks, back again, 2021, getting the job done.
Yeah, it rhymed. I like it.
Oh, yes. So you know who it is, of course. So the Below, Rensmatic, and welcome to our very first episode of 2021 of Tres Leches Radio. And today we have a very special guest. She's the reason why I have my so lovely looks, my namesake, the beautiful cheekbones, a nice melanin. Let's give it up for Nikki Rose, aka Mama.
Round of applause. Give it up for Nikki Rose. Hey. Yeah. We got to get our sound effects later this year. So
yes. So today's I guess it was an episode that we had in the works for a couple of months here, especially after the holidays, bad eating and stuff. So we, a little bit more like refresh ourselves here. So we want to introduce you to today's episode called Mighty Healthy, Wellness and Hip Hop, with our special guest, as mentioned, Nikki Rose, host of Nikki Rose Goes Vegan. And today we're just going to look at different aspects of our journeys of how we can better ourselves eating wise. Because everything's about a journey, obviously. And even with hip hop itself, if we remember, even the earlier stage of the hip hop, especially the heavy influence with the Nation of Islam and the 5 Percenters, especially with, Elijah Muhammad's How to Eat to Live. So we had schoolings from, whether it's from Rakim, Public Enemy, Wu-Tang, as far as, how obviously you're talking about stop eating pork and other byproducts, but we also see how some of them elevated RZA, Master Killer, Ghostface, being vegan now, Erykah Badu, vegan, Murs, and, other countless rappers who've gone through their journeys to better themselves. So and I'm going to give stage to you, Nikki, but explain your journey on how you came from an omnivore to vegetarian to now where you're at as now vegan.
Yeah, well, I think when I was 17, I met my first friend and she was vegetarian. And I think that's the first time that I really thought about excluding something from my diet, because I think when we all think about why we eat meat, we don't know why. It's just something that's been passed down. Your parents give it to you, and without asking any questions, you just eat it. So then I was intrigued, and then I started a vegetarian diet, and I learned, like, you're putting dead animals in your body, and and I didn't read enough about it, and I always have regrets about that. So I think from my 17 years till I was 27, I was vegetarian, but then I became what they call like pescatarian.
Well, pescatarian, that's
where I ate fish. So I was always lacto-ovo, and then I started eating fish. But I think I only ate fish really because if you go out to eat with people about 30 years ago or something like that, there wasn't really much vegetarian options if you went out to eat. So I ate a lot of dairy products and cheese. And then when I got pregnant with my daughter, I started to eat meat again just because it became something like of nostalgia. And I think because I was in another country, I wasn't at home, and I just like started craving things that, that my mom used to make for me. And then it was kind of hard to go back, but I eventually got back on track. And then I think over so many years, maybe from my 30s to my 40s, I just kept flip-flopping from vegetarianism to veganism, back to eating meat occasionally. And I think I had a bakery when I was in my 40s, and I was eating a lot of bread products and dairy products. And I went on like this, the Atkins diet. And that's when I really realized
low carb one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That food in itself could have on you, because I was really sluggish and, tired. And then I thought one day, like, why don't you just stop eating bread for a while? Just I just on this carb extreme diet, and, incorporated a lot of soy products but also eating some meat. And one day I ate some more bread and I felt like that tiredness. And then I finally like realized, like, you know what, this gluten is kind of bringing me down. Then I really sunk in that what you put in your body makes a difference. And then I started, after I let go of my bakery, I started traveling and I went to St. Thomas for Christmas vacation to work. And then I embraced the raw vegan diet. And I did that for like 3 months, extreme. And I had so much energy. And I would just get up at around 5 o'clock in the morning and go running along the beach. Then I would work like 10-hour shift and get up, I get home about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, and then get up around 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning and go running again and just take a nap before work. And wow. And that was an eye opener. And that's when I really decided I don't need meat. And I can, so that was my journey. It's just really starting to realize that what I put in my body makes a difference. And now I have been strictly vegan for a year and a half, where I'm not going back. And if anything, I would try, to get back on raw vegan. So that was my journey.
Yeah, I actually have a friend. I think he's probably been vegan about maybe 2-3 years, and I think similar to something you were saying before we went live. He did a similar approach where it was like he tried it for like a week or something like that, and then he did it gradually. He was kind of health conscious before then, but he would consume a lot of meat for the protein, right? Because it's also about the information that they throw out to us. You need to eat meat to get certain nutrients when it's like you can actually get them elsewhere. And now he's full vegan, and similar to what you just said, he says the energy levels he feels is it's just, and we're in our mid-30s now. He says it's more now than at any other point, but when he was younger. So.
Yeah, it's almost like a drug. And I think what we'll be discovering when we start talking about our hip hop icons, so you start looking for something for your body, and then you start feeling this, this great energy, and you let go of all these misconceptions that you have about what it means to be vegan. And then you start to find out what happens to the animals that we're consuming. And you find out about things like factory farming, and you find out about the abuse. And it opens your heart up. I mean, it gets very spiritual. Like there was times when people would ask me, "Are you doing it for the animals?" I'd be like, "No, like get out of here." Like like my dad would say to me, like, the animals have their lot. And you believe that, just like that's the animal's life, I have my life. And then you are confronted. You expose yourself to a whole different lifestyle. And then you find out that these animals are abused, they're hurt, the slaughterhouses are trash.
They're drugged up, I believe, too, for like sizes. Yeah, hormone. Yeah.
I'll tell you something. I just learned this. We are looking for B12. Like they say, you can't get B12 only in meat. Well, know, because they give B12 to the animals. The animals don't even have B12 half the time. We don't even do that. So it's ridiculous. Like the things that cows are vegetarian. Mostly all the animals that we eat are vegetarians. Pigs would probably be vegetarians, except for they just get fed like leftovers. But everything that they get protein from just eating vegetables, just like we get proteins if we only eat vegetables. And there is calcium in broccoli and in kale and collard greens. So we don't even need cow milk. There's calcium in sesame seeds. So we just don't know enough. And the thing is, when you start this journey, you get more knowledge. And I mean, I'm a Christian, and there are a lot of Christian vegans, not a lot. So I just say not a lot. But one thing that, like, in this whole journey, like I keep remembering, like a quote from Jesus is like, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And I think to be a meat eater or an omnivore is just not knowing enough about what's going on, where your food comes from when it, and I think Reza from the Wu-Tang clan, sorry,
RZA, yeah.
Reza, he made a really nice rap. I don't know if I'm getting the two confused because Grizza is also one of the
What?
two
So
really
they're
nice.
cousins. So RZA and Jizza are cousins, but they're both vegan along with Ghostface Killer and Master Killer Wu Tang. But yeah.
Says a no relation.
Yes.
Really, really good. One of them made a really good rap about cows, like they get injected by drugs, antibiotics, and then they go to a slaughterhouse that's full of flies and disease. And then this winds up in the supermarket, and then you eat it, and then you get like you can get a heart attack from it. It clogs your arteries. The only way that you can get cholesterol and hard fats in your body, and I'm talking about fats that won't dissolve, that stick to your arteries, is purely from eating animal products. You cannot get that from olive oil or sunflower oil or margarine that's made from plant-based. It is purely comes from eating a chicken, a fish, or a cow, period. High blood pressure.
I think too, we're also trained to, like, especially in America, that we have to have a meat with our meal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is totally false.
Yeah, it's the education, the source of the information that we receive, right? Like at no point in any health class when I grew up, you learn about all these different things, the body and all that. There's no, like, they don't say do not consume vegetables, but they don't go to the step of why you should remove this. They say eat this with that. Even my pops was telling me, he was like, the one constant in every diet, whether you're doing some boutique diet or whatever, he was like, vegetables are in every diet. They were like, whether you're doing a crash diet or an actual good diet, vegetables are the constant in all of them.
Right.
And it's funny you mention that because, like, even with like the Atkins and some like the South Beach diets, I remember when Atkins first came out, one of the first things they said was that since you're eating so much meat, you got to take all these other supplements, either the vitamins or whatever, because you get a lack of it because you don't have enough vegetables or the other grain intake. At that point. So going back to what my mother's saying, and when I remember first listening to Dead Prez, like the Be Healthy song, and this the whole concept of veganism was so like, well, what are they talking about? I'm not eating no meats. Even going to the point where we're talking about how not to overcook the food, not to lose the nutrients, and everything. And we're so used to everything cooked, and sometimes might be soft, and if the vegetables are soft, a lot of those nutrients are you're pretty much eating for nothing, at that point. So definitely, as far as the concept goes.
For sure.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's really a beautiful thing to see a lot of the hip hop people, stars, giving back to their community. Away from hip hop in the late 90s because I was frustrated with people getting out of the ghettos. And to me, for my, when I was stepping out and getting away from it, I was just getting frustrated because I was like, they're starting to live a whole different life. They have doors being open to them, and they're not giving back. They're just, they're making money, and they keep glorifying this gangster life. But now when I look at people from the Wu-Tang Clan, there was Jermaine Dupri, will.i.am, Styles P.
Yeah, Jesus for Life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Styles.
Big
These guys are going to the communities. They want to talk about eating healthy. They want to talk about their journeys. Juices for Life. Not only is he starting Juices for Life, for profit, but he's doing it in his own town. He's going back to New York, where there are predominantly Black neighborhoods, poor neighborhoods, and he's putting these juice bars to make it accessible for people of color who are in low income areas, that they can also eat healthy. I don't know if you guys are familiar with what they
Oh
call,
no. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
but
I've
I'm
been there
gonna,
personally. Yeah, it's very nice. He has a couple establishments in New York. I went to the one in Queens maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. But the workers are very well educated, knowledgeable. You come in for certain ailments or certain things you want, they'll make you whatever proper things, and they give you education there. And I think that's a good thing. I remember when they interview Styles about it, one of the things he was saying is like, only thing you're seeing in Black and brown communities is liquor stores and the bodegas, but not having the real nutritional foods that you'll find in the suburbs and whatnot. Which is a good segue, because when we look at we were talking about certain icons that have improved the eating, it hit me hard just looking at and I'm going to name some of the rappers, and there's probably more. I'm going to name some of the rappers in this name that calls it death, and then look at the full correlation. So we look at Big Pun, who's for some of our favorite rapper of all time. He died from a heart attack. You look at Lord Infamous from 3 6 Mafia, also a heart attack. Nate Dogg, stroke. Phife Dawg, diabetes. Guru with the melanoma with the cancer, and so forth. But the main thing is that these guys are all under 50 years old. Like, and when I was really putting that in that perspective, I was like, wow, I was like, these guys are gone. So they weren't killed, they weren't murdered, there was no beef. Well, there was beef, obviously, the food, the intake.
Yeah, not the beef we're used to hearing about.
Yeah, it's just
like,
that the poor eating, and which plague our community, especially in the inner cities, and this with the, like you said, the lack of knowledge in education, because it's not stuff that's really been put out there, in school, whatsoever. Like a lot of stuff that we knew, obviously, was student music, and this from knowledge of self education, after the fact. So as you're mentioning, how important is it that we educate our communities more about, not even if they don't want to go full vegan, but even to start incorporating more of a plant base and within their current diet.
Like just not having
That's
bodega-based diets.
extremely important. And I'm so glad that people who have made their fortunes are turning back and looking at educating their own people, the people that they love, the people who put them where they are, because it is extremely important. We have been duped because we live in a consumer environment. We live in a capitalist environment. Absolutely. Where people who are just out for profit do not care about the consumer. Our meat industry is in the hands of people who want to make a lot of money, and they don't care if your health is in danger or not. So it is so important to know that there are other options, and that it behooves you to get in, to get to know these other options, and to know that you do not need meat, plant products to survive. It is the biggest myth. Where does your protein come from? It comes from everything. Cows, gorillas, elephants, giraffes, all vegetarians, all huge animals, and they all have protein.
There's even vegan bodybuilders. Yeah, I'm like that same friend I mentioned before. He's like my human version of like the vegan monthly newsletter, and there's people who are just, they are jacked. They're not just, oh, you're big for a vegan. No, these people are like bouncer size, and they consume no meat products.
And I want to say, I do have a couple of friends who are overweight and they are vegan. And what's the difference between them and the other person who's overweight and is an omnivore? They don't have high cholesterol, they do not have sugar diabetes, and they are not in danger of it. So you have, they drink alcohol, maybe they eat a lot of fried foods, maybe they're not eating, everything that they should be eating as vegans. Maybe they're eating a lot of vegan, but so they have a little bit more weight than the average vegan. But let me tell you, they're not going to be at the doctor's office getting insulin because they're not eating animal products. And so it is very important to get educated to believe the things that you're hearing and to try it for yourself. Extremely
Yeah.
important.
There's even a good Netflix documentary. I don't know if you guys saw it. It's called it's like about the athletes who went vegan and like that.
Dangerous.
Yeah, Game Changers. Yeah, that one I saw it maybe 2 weeks ago. Because like my friend had been telling me about it, and that was pretty good. They did good. They tested people's blood results who were training when they had meat versus like vegan diet, and you saw differences. They tested everything. Like a woman who was a cyclist, an Olympic cyclist, she set a record. Like in sports, when you're in your 30s, you're considered old, and she set a record in her lane in her 30s. And she said, and all of them said the same thing, that when they changed what they were eating, when they changed that notion of, oh, you need meat for the protein and whatnot, that they said they felt better and they performed better. And you have quantifiable statistics. They have times to show they completed these these races and whatnot in record timing.
Right.
This
It's
is
also valuable to know your body as well. 'Cause I tried the vegetarian path 2010, 2011, and I had a few months of just like mayhem. I mean, my body's changing, but I was getting my intake of soy was just way too high, and I wasn't supplementing correctly. So people say, oh, like being a vegan or vegetarian doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna look like Superman. You have to know your body, and in light of like 2020 with this pandemic, I'm not the best. I'm better than most as far as aligning with what my body adapts well to. But I can, and we can all go tomorrow. You never know when it's your time to go. But when this pandemic started off, I was pretty confident because I took care of my body 2008, 2011, 2015. So I know my body will take care of me later, and it's up to now. I mean, I have to continue to get better, and I do want to add more of the vegan process to my life. I have a smidgen. I would say I'm 25% there, but my conscience feels better than I would have had. I'll say that.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
what I want to say is that the most important thing is never to give up. Keep on that track. Incorporate as much vegetables. I mean, because that's all we're talking about is eating more vegetables, eating more fruits, eating more beans, rice, quinoa.
Beer.
I mean, right, because there's good news. Beer and wine is, mostly, not all wines are vegan. You want to incorporate them and you want to hear more about the truth. There are lots more films out there. If you want a shocker, there's Earthlings. You have Prayer for Compassion, which talks about every religion and faith on the planet, and how if you really believe in a loving God, or if you're following, whatever belief system you have, there are Muslims, there's Christians, there's Buddhists, there's Hindus, and what they're all saying is that we don't need to be eating meat. We don't need to be hurting another animal to survive. We don't living on that kind of planet. We have so many options that we can walk away from this practice and still be healthy, and not only still be healthy, but be healthier, be stronger, be more compassionate. And when you're compassionate towards animals, you're more compassionate towards your fellow man. You're more caring. You look beyond yourself. What other things you can be doing? Like I said, if you start being compassionate about animals, you'll start being compassionate about women's rights, human rights. You start to look more at the other injustices and really want to incorporate all of them. I think now we stand up for one thing or the other thing, and what we don't understand as a humanity, we can stand up for all injustices. Black Lives Matters, animal rights, like I said, women rights, children porn. You just start to open yourself up and really start to feel like a superhero. Like, why stop here? If I can care about this cause, then I can care about the other. It really opens you up to be compassionate. Like, I think veganism can be like a diet, and compassion becomes the lifestyle. So it starts thinking about yourself, but it ends up just encompassing a whole new world. And when you look at, the sad thing is I don't want to harp on Dr. Dre, but he has decided not to embrace a diet to help himself. He has diabetes. The diabetes has gone terribly wrong. And I have a lot of compassion for this man. Making a lifestyle change, as we all know, is not easy.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's a clarified, not Dr. Dre who just had the aneurysm. Dr.
Ed Lover and Dr. Dre.
Ed Lover and Dr. Dre.
Yo, I can't even say it. Yo, MTV Raps.
TV
Yeah,
rap Dr.
yeah.
Dre.
Okay.
Because they got the exact same name. They have the exact same name.
Exact
yeah.
same name.
Okay. So Dr. Dre, the one who's going blind.
Mm.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
So he has not embraced it. And like I said, I'm not putting him down because I know my journey was one that lasted a long time. What I want to say is he and I are the same age. I think he's 2 years older. When I look at this gentleman, he looks a lot older than I do. When I compare him to the guys from Wu-Tang,
Yeah, Wu-Tang Clan.
he looks a lot older than those guys. And it's because of the diet. It's again, I look young. My mom looked young. I can say she lived to be 76. She also had a very bad diet. She got diabetes at an older age. I think one of the things that might have kept her healthy is just being active, walking, riding her bike. But the thing is what happens when you get, a lot of people don't like to get to this truth. Do you want to have good days or bad days? And I think what happened with my mom is she started to have a lot of bad days where she couldn't get out of bed, where she was in pain, where you hurt. And you don't have to go out like that. I think Kim Kardashian just started a vegan diet to help her arthritis. And like she was saying, it's not gone, but it's manageable. And what vegan diets do, if you have other complications, like I have swollen legs since my pregnancy with Lorenzo. And
Thanks, Renz.
but what I want to say is, but since I embraced veganism, it hasn't completely gone away, but it has not progressed into something worse. Like I've seen people my age, and I mean, their legs are huge. Their feet are huge. They're wearing different sizes. So even though it's not a cure-all, it does make your life a lot easier. We are all going to die. There is no cure for death. But when people make fun and they start talking about that healthy friend that was never in the hospital who just dropped dead, I want to be that healthy person. I don't want to be in the hospital hooked up to machines. I don't want to be on 50 different medications, trying to manage high blood pressure and my diabetes. And,
you also spend less money, I would imagine, picking healthy groceries than paying for the health insurance and the trips to the doctors and all that. Like if some people are like, because I think another possible misconception is, oh, well, and now I do agree. I do think that unhealthy foods, the big companies make them way more affordable sometimes, but you can also but like perspective, what's cheaper, buying your groceries healthy or paying for all this treatment of medication? Because that's another thing. I think another element of the vegan lifestyle is the people who have agendas that are pumping this information to us. Like you said, like they stand, like the dairy industry, the meat industries, they stand to make a boatload of money. So now the awareness that's being created now is a threat to their pockets.
Mm-hmm. I remember. Go ahead, Mom.
They're jumping in on vegan products. They're not dumb. They're not totally stupid. Mm-hmm. KFC is making vegan burgers. McDonald's is making vegan burgers. Some of the vegan products that you find in the supermarkets now are being produced by some of the larger I think not Oscar Mayer, but one of the sausage companies is
Morning
out there.
Star, I know that's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
So they're not stupid.
Right.
They see movement and they're trying to jump in and get a slice of that pie as well.
Yeah, and I think like when I was in Harlem, I went to this, this black-owned vegan spot, and I think one of the conceptions about veganism was like, oh, it's too much soy, the estrogen, you're gonna get more feminine attributes. And then I was talking to the guy about it. I didn't, just to see where his thoughts were on it. He's like, well, if you look at who was making these reports, it's from such and such company who's associated with Tyson, associated with this, because most of the meats that we eat are from female anyway. So if that's the case, we eating this chicken, we eating this beef, it's all female body parts we're eating. So we should all been feminine by then, if that was, the case. And I think overall, it's a re-education because culturally, we were taught to eat all this stuff, especially if we look at slavery and everything else. We were taught to eat this. We all we had was the scratch. Well, yeah, it was this. So that became our culture, the food, whether it was chitlins or other stuff.
And it was passed down for generations.
Passing down. Like, oh, why are you not eating this? Oh, you think you better now? You're not eating the pork no more. You're not eating red meat. And my mom, got chastised for, mostly jokes, but still at the same time, like her father, my grandfather. We'll go to Outback. He'll tell you straight up, I want my steak bloody rare. I want to hear it moo when I cut through it. and he's 100% blunt about it, No,
but it's true, friends. It's what you said. Yeah, you'll get docked for not being too Hispanic enough or black enough. Oh, you don't eat this, you don't eat that. You'll get almost ousted from your own kind. And it's sad that that's the thing. But yeah, you won't be considered enough of whatever your lineage is for not following something that's literally going to deteriorate you if you continue to eat that.
Definitely. Like, I stopped eating pork, I want to say 2006. My father never cooked with pork anyway, so it was more my mother's side. But I would go to family events and like they would make fun of me. Oh, Brandon, you Muslim, And I'm like, nah, I don't need it anymore, And then and then I took beef out. But then like people now are catching on, like even my cousins. So my cousins are like, oh man, I got the turkey bacon now, So it's just like it is a shame when you go against the grain and that family culture,
And it's very negative. I just want to say something, another misconception, and not putting anybody down, wherever you are in your journey, it's great. But there are no safe animal products. Anything that has cholesterol and hard fats in it, there is no, I'm good if I just eat fish. I'm good if I just eat turkey. I'm good if I only eat chicken. It's a misconception.
Mm-hmm.
They all lead to heart disease. And now they're showing that it also leads to diabetes. I mean, the way is just to cut it out because you don't need it.
Fish. I don't know.
It's just a step, bro. You gave up me. I got a steeper mountain to climb. So
yeah, I mean, me personally is like now that my mom knows that if I'm eating meat, it might be once a day. If that now, usually in the morning, I got my breakfast smoothie. Going on lunchtime, I'm usually doing like some type of cream tomato-based soup with my grapefruit. So by dinner, it might be like a lean protein, vegetables, and that's usually 5-6 days a week. But that wasn't even a process because I was, used having meats lunch and breakfast, all throughout. So I seen the differences, especially with my activities, my my workout regimens and so forth. But
you look beautiful, brother. You look beautiful. I see the club.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. You know what I mean? I mean, a lot of it's right down there on the other, on the screen. But yeah, definitely. But with that said, though, because I know you've been talking about a lot of different ideas and concepts on how we need to transition. Let's talk about your page. You got the Nikki Goes Vegan. Definitely seen many of the episodes, but let's get some of the viewers some information about that. So as far as further education and further growth.
So I found myself wanting to get more people informed about what it means to be vegan. And I wanted to do it for my age group. I want to try to reach people who are 50-plussers, try to catch them before they really get caught up in these heart diseases and to diabetes, because I think there's a lot of things about our culture where people start to just think that when I reach this age, this is going to happen. And, you know, like, and
They
you
accept
know,
it too easily. Yeah, they accept it.
I'm going to have high blood pressure. I'm a black, you know, I'm black.
It comes with age. Yeah,
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
Misinformed. Yeah.
You know, and this is the saddest thing. It's just thinking like, well, it's just a part of growing older, you know, living in pain and having diabetes and getting ready for insulin, and then thinking that insulin is some type of cure. It is not a cure. You are still in danger, even if you're on insulin. And then just playing the sugar game, like trying to find out how much sugar you have, you know, what you can eat for that day. And you're just not free anymore. And it's just so sad to see people give up on that part of their lives. I'm the healthiest I've ever been. I'm almost at the same weight I was when I was in my 20s. I run almost every day. You know, I'm doing my exercises. I have a job where where I have, you know, I'm moving, I'm like a custodian where, you know, I'm cleaning or moving heavy things, and I am healthy and I'm happy. And I had a girlfriend of mine like start to tell me like, you know, as we get older, we're going to have osteoporosis, which they're showing only happens with people who are actually consuming cow's milk.
Mm.
Because it seems like the cow's milk calcium makes your bones brittle and is actually stripping you of your natural calcium, which you should be getting from things like I was saying, broccoli and sesame seeds. So in my journey, trying to get this kind of information out, trying to reach people my age and to say, no, aging does not have to be unhealthy. We owe it to ourselves to get informed, break through these myths about eating and looking at our nose down at vegetarians and vegans. But I also wanted to say that something else that I've learned is like, if you look about like racism, we started to make races, or that whole conversation about different races was just to promote one race over another, was just to say like, you know, my race is better than your race is doing this. And it was also used to oppress one race, promote another one, put another one down. And then, like, even now with demographics and racism, like keeping healthy food away from certain communities. And so they're still using it to their advantage. And then, as people, we have something which the vegan community calls speciesism, where we with species, where we do like, we won't eat cats and dogs because those are our friends, but we will, so we put the cats and dogs up here and we put the cows and chickens and the turkeys down here, and those guys will eat and will abuse and will let the slaughterhouses take care of them. But these guys we hold sacred and up here with us. And so we need to break away from that also, that speciesism, and start to see all animals equally and love them and get excited for them and excited for their lives, and stop letting the meat industry even produce, like some people think like, well, if we're not eating them, then they'll get overpopulated. But in a lot of cases, we're making meat, you know, we're producing meat for consumption.
Well, you know, it's so bad that and I think Styles P said this, you referenced Styles P earlier, and he
Yes.
had an interview and he was just saying like, you know, how can you get chicken everywhere? Like, there's just not that many chickens.
Yeah, yeah, the volume. I've said that to myself too. Yeah,
They're not eating chicken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You eating chicken with an asterisk next to it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
They might as well, like what you just said. We might as well mind their lives.
Because we're,
Mhm.
have you ever been to a chicken house? I have some chicken farm friends out in Lancaster, you know, and what happens is these little baby chickens get like dumped out of a dump truck, and then they go into this house. And this house, you know, I think is about 12 feet, or that 12 feet, I don't know. It's high enough for you to walk around in. And it's just, oh, it's closed up and it has a ventilator fan and it has like the water sprout coming out and the chickens are just dumped in there. Now they're free range, which only means that they're not so close together, but they've already been shot up with the antibiotics and the growth hormones. If they never see the light of day and they're never on grass and they never get to live like a real chicken lives, and chickens run around like in posses. But these chickens, there's no rooster around. And I asked my friend, who's also a Christian, do you really think that God intended for this living creature never to see the light of day and never to walk out in grass and never to do and live his life out the way he was meant to? And then they don't say anything because this is how they make money. And then somebody comes after they've grown enough and they come and scoop up the chickens, and not in a nice way. I mean, they're just like picked up and just like thrown on the truck, and then they go to a slaughterhouse. So it's rude, and we don't know enough. We don't know what the chickens have been injected with. We don't know why. And I'm telling you something. I remember eating chicken when it was a little bit more chewier. And I remember chicken evolving into something that's like mush. I remember you needed a fork and a knife to cut into a chicken. And now I remember, and now I know you can just tear it. It's just like mush.
Right off the bone. Yeah. It's
moving. And I don't even know, is it healthy to be eating an animal that's never seen sunlight? We don't, and that's one thing when I go and talk to people about veganism, I want people to start asking questions. What am I putting in my mouth? Where did it come from? What are the conditions? Have you ever been to a slaughterhouse?
And you mentioned earlier, I think the term used a lot is like food deserts.
Yes, thank you. And that's what we have in our poor communities. Mm-hmm. That needs to stop. And that's something that we collective of people, and I think that's when veganism makes you start look at your people and say, what's wrong with this picture? Why are there only cheesesteak factories and Paganos? I'm saying
there's a Buffalo Wild Wings like everywhere. Really? And I'm not gonna lie, I love those places, but I'm openly admitting that my diet could be better. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know I need more veggies, but yeah, like these places, they're everywhere. They're convenient. They're marketed. They have the fancy colors, like the tapestry. It's very inviting, welcoming, and they're very affordable,
Yeah. Like listen, I can tell you, and you can sit down and think about it yourself. How much do you spend on groceries a week?
Right.
All right. And then think about it. How much do you think somebody living below the poverty, how much are they getting? Mm-hmm. How much are they getting in food stamps? And is it enough? And what do you do when that money runs out? You just can't go and buy certain products, things that you need to survive. So they're in a catch-20,
22.
Like, you can't buy the things that you need. You live too far from it. And we need to start, there's a young woman, what was her name? She's out in California trying to get vegetables and fruits to poorer communities. And she wants to start her own supermarket. And, it's because she sees the food desert and she understands, like, we need to do this. We need to give back to these types of communities. We need to start thinking about the injustices that are being done in the name of profit.
Absolutely.
For sure.
I think too, like, I'll let you go, but even like growing our own produce, I think that's something that I've paid more attention to in light of the pandemic. I go to my local market. There's no toilet paper. There's no celery. There's no broccoli. And I was kind of joking with one of my friends, and he was like, "Oh, I started growing my stuff." I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "You want some?" And I'm like, "Man, like that's it. That's it." You know?
Yeah, somebody I went to high school with. He's like very active. You know, he shows up to events and stuff. And even on his Instagram this year, like I think he went and he started. I don't know if he bought a piece of land. I don't know exactly, but they created a garden in here in Newark. You know what I'm saying? And they, you know, that's not something that you commonly hear about. But this is like I don't know how open to the public it is, but I know that there was a piece of land and they used it to build a garden. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah,
like just to add to that.
And you see like the urban gardens now that have been coming more in place in the inner cities, you know, within the last, 5-10 years. But even when I lived down Maryland with my grandfather, we had a garden. We had, the cucumbers, the tomatoes and stuff that previous generations did because that was the norm. But we're so used to this going to the supermarket, grab, and, given what the GMOs and the chemicals and everything else, we don't know what we're consuming. And then on the flip side, people who are actually, and there's some certain states, but there's laws now where you can't even have gardens on certain properties that you even own, and it's almost like they're almost trying to force you in a way that say, hey, you have to get this GMO, you have to get this, chemically induced meat or whatever to limit our options. So it's going to be definitely an ongoing battle at this point here. But just to wrap things up here, Mom, I know you got the YouTube channel, Nikki Goes Vegan. You also had like a blog site for some recipes as well, correct?
Yes.
And yeah, if you can give us some of the information. I mean, obviously we'll put it on the episode as well, but in case somebody wants to, type it up right now.
Throw those links out. Let the world know.
Okay, they're all vegan. Nikki Rose Goes Vegan, to keep it simple. And like I said on my blog, I'm trying to get up enough recipes. I got a little sidetracked but I'm going to get back on track with that. And we're calling January Veganary. So this is a great time to challenge yourself those last 2 weeks this month to just go vegan. So simple, just eating salads, making smoothies, just eating vegetables and fruit to get started.
Like single ingredient foods, I think is what they're referred to, right? Like,
just get whole foods and try your garden, start growing your own stuff. Why not? I mean, it's just like printing your own money. You don't have to.
I never felt more like a second-class citizen, third-class citizen in my life when he said I had my own celery. What am I doing wrong in my life?
Oh man.
We are disconnected from animals. We're disconnected from growing our own fruits and vegetables. Last time you actually touched a cow or, embraced a goat or just looked at an animal and just saw the beauty of that animal for what he was and not for what he might be on your plate. I mean, we just really need to open our hearts up, start looking at our world differently. And then just like the hip hop artists who have gone vegan, just start to get out and share it with other people and try to look out for our brothers and sisters and make sure that they're eating healthy and getting all that they should be getting.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And one thing I would mention too, and I know how you feel about hip hop at certain times, especially, your age, Mom, but I would definitely check out Stickman of Dead Prez. He actually has 2 solo albums, but they're mostly workout focus and health focus. So he has the workout, which came out in 2011, and then workout part 2. And it's funny because we all listen to Dead Prez and they can be very radical minded as far as Black empowerment and everything else, but it's almost like he pretty much, I think, vegan since his 20s, but as now he's almost like the urban Buddha, or as far as what's he about, like, and he's so much peace now. You don't see. I mean, you still have the anger as far as social injustice, but as far as how he conducts himself and saying, "Hey, this is what we need to be doing." Like, I remember when I first started seeing stuff on Instagram and Facebook. I'm like, is this the same Stickman from Let's Get Free from 1999? Even though he was vegan then, but just seeing how his attitude has been modified, and as you're mentioning, we can all do those type of adaptations, which is, definitely refreshing, something that we should all strive to do, eventually.
Yeah, we've seen them live, and Dead Prez, like, and they even have a segment in the show where he just will, like, or ask people, what's in your diet?
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, oh man, I have this Hennessy right now. I should just
like water.
But that's incredible. Like I don't, who would have thought we would have been there in a hip hop show where there's a segment where he just wants to promote, veganism.
Yeah, and eat healthy. Like he's like, I don't want y'all to die. Like, and it wasn't preachy. And I think that's a lot of people think about the veganism, and especially with some rappers, that it's gonna come off preachy, and it doesn't. It's like just a regular conversation like we're all having right now.
Just awareness
and open dialogue. It's like he's not scolding you for eating meat or whatever. He's just saying, hey, if you want to have that arthritis, you want to have that diabetes, that's what you're leading up to. If not, here's where you can start making changes. But I don't want us to go over time. I know we can talk about this for hours, especially you, Mom, because I mean, this is
this is a way of life.
Yes.
Thing. Styles P was really adamant about that. Also, he said he was incarcerated.
Yeah.
And the time that happened, he was so angry, and he just said, like, what am I angry about? Like, I've got so much going on. I made it. I'm not, I have to be a hustler anymore. I'm making money, and I shouldn't even be in this position. And that's when he started to change his diet.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, and then he saw the difference, and he said, through veganism, a lot of his anger dissolved. So it started, like I said, to be something that you do for yourself, maybe for health benefits, but it changes your outlook, it calms you, and it fills you with compassion. And then, like I said, the next step is when you really start to look at the animals and then the people, your brothers and your sisters here that you share the planet with. The end result is just good. It's just like a win-win situation for everybody. And I just wanted to close like my part with that. It's just, journey, but it's one that really brings you a sense of spirituality.
For sure. And I just want to thank you again for, definitely blessing us with this. I know we were talking about this for a couple of months, but we didn't know how we could fit it. But I think it was a good time, good opportunity. And of course, I love you.
There you go.
Everything. But any final thoughts and words? Obviously, we'll have information on my mom's page, Nikki Goes Vegan, once we have the episode uploaded on YouTube. So you'll be able to check out not only her videos, but also our blog site for her recipes. And we're also going to start expanding our, our channel soon as well, getting to the Spotify and other streaming platforms as well, for sure.
So I had some really good chicken last night. I'm going to finish this chicken, and then I'm not eating chicken as long as I can. I'm not going to give a date, but I'm going to go without chicken for as long as I possibly can.
Okay.
I'm gonna up my vegetables, because I try to drink them, because I could be stubborn, but even I know, like, again, vegetables, they come from the earth, and they were here to be in our body. Like, even in my mindset, I understand that much, that because I don't want to age poorly. I don't want something like walking to ever be a chore. So
right.
I'm gonna continue what I'm doing and implement more. Yes.
We appreciate you so much. This is great. I needed this personally. This was awesome.
It's right after the holidays. That's why we timed it like this. I know I ate extra recklessly from Thanksgiving to New Year's. So here you go. Yeah. So I'm trying to pick it back up.
30 plus days.
Time. Watch the documentary Earthlings. Earth, meaning we share this earth with other beings. And then get back at me.
Noted.
Be prepared.
Earthlings, there will be a
prepared.
Quiz.
She said she wasn't going to mention that, but be prepared for that. That's something you want to, yeah. But with that said, though, I guess we'll be wrapping things up. We'll be back on a regular bi-weekly Thursdays at this point. But any other endpoint, gentlemen and ladies?
Hey, shout out to the MCs that like the RZAs, the Styles P, the Commons, Dead Prez, Public Enemy,
Murs.
Murs. I mean, because
YG's even vegan.
YG.
I didn't know that.
Well,
YG
he
of all
stopped. He did it briefly, but he's there for the same reason that we've been discussing.
But and he's from the current generation. That's what I'm saying. Like the
Yeah.
fact that he even opened his mind up. This is a gangster rapper. You don't ever hear about gangster rappers during their prime. And
Right.
yeah, Brandon. No, continue, Brandon. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Outkast. Well, one half of Outkast,
Yeah.
Andre, Erykah Badu. The list. It's a long list actually. When
Oh, yeah.
and there's a lot of people that don't even broadcast it that are still living that life.
Right.
Mhm.
That's inspiring to us being in the culture in the community.
For sure. All right, then I guess, gentlemen, we'll wrap things up and we'll catch you guys in about 2 weeks.
All right.
Thank-
Thank you, man.
Thank you again for Nikki Rose Goes Vegan coming through. Round of applause. Thank you. All right. So thank
Get all
you
your flowers
again.
today.
Yep. Thank you again. We are Tres Leches Radio. We'll be back at you in another 2 weeks. Have a great
All
rest
right,
of the
take
day.
All right, peace.
Uh,
Peace.